All right, now joining us on Tennis Channel Inside In. Back again. It's been a long time since she's been on this podcast, but you can find her on Tennis Bets as well as putting out amazing tennis, golf, and other sports content on social media. Pamela Maldonado back on the show where it all began, your journey in tennis media. Welcome back to the show. A lot to talk about, some good and some bad with clay court season, but thanks for hopping back on.
For having me. I think a lot of great stuff is happening in tennis right now. What we saw from 2022, 2023, ever since really COVID, is that we've seen a transition period and now we are like in it. We were starting to see the beginnings of it and now we're in the thick of it. So it's a great time for tennis.
This new generation that's really stepping up, and the beauty of it, Pam, and I think you were alluding to it, is that it's not just one person. Like, there are multiple people getting in, and then that's motivating some of the older guys and girls to stick around and raise their level, because this train doesn't stop. All sports are like this, but especially with tennis, the physical demands on your body, you have to be all in, you have to be improving, or you will get left behind no matter how great you are and what you've accomplished.
You know that you and I can talk tennis for hours, so I'm just going to briefly touch up on a couple of names that are coincide with what you just said. That we're seeing a variety of players add variety to those games. One of those players is Daniil Medvedev. He's been around for how long? And he's like, oh man, okay, I got to switch things up if I want to keep steady, keep pace with these next guys that are coming up. Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner, Ben Shelton. He's a new American number one. He's already had variety in his game, but we're seeing him transition right now to he has the aggression from what we saw similar to that of Sinner, and now he's learning how to the complete package of it, knows when to execute. So we're seeing a lot of greatness happening right now, and I love tennis right now.
It's so good. And one of the things that's special too is knowing when to, and we'll move on after this, but knowing when to take advantage of opportunities. That could mean in a specific tournament when the draw opens up. That could be on your favorite surface. That could be in a person's case. You brought him up, Ben Shelton. He has no real points to defend right now. He has a lot of opportunity. The U.S. Open, when the pressure will come back on, but it's about knowing how to step up when you have your chance, because tennis, like all sports and anything in life, fam, it's just a wave. There's going to be ups and downs, and you have to understand how to ride it and know, okay, this is a time to really lock in, as the greats all do.
And so one of the waves, Nadal. We're seeing the wave of out with the old, in with the new.
Yeah.
Novak Djokovic is in that line. We've already seen Roger Federer exit. Some of these guys are starting to retire, and it's sad.
It's sad, but it also makes for, maybe, Pam, it's hard to say this, but in truth, it's a very exciting Roland Garros season on the men's side. We haven't had this much variance and this much drama because it's been the Nadal Invitational to a lot of extent. I know Federer got one, Stan got one, Novak got a couple now, but there are real opportunities here. And unfortunately, it starts with Rafael Nadal not having the stranglehold that he once did. We're recording this the day that he just was eliminated from Barcelona. The tournament that he won 12 times has his name on the court that he played on, a legend of all legends in Barcelona. But he loses to Alex De Minaur, who's playing, as we've talked about, on Tennis Bets and on other platforms, the tennis of his life. Nadal wins one match against Covelli, loses in straight sets to De Minaur 7-5, 6-1. We're going to break down this match and Nadal in great detail, but I want to open the floor to you. Thoughts on this match in particular, what you saw, what you liked, what you didn't like, maybe, from Rafael Nadal.
If nobody watches, if there was somebody that came up to me who's maybe new to tennis or hasn't watched tennis in a while and asked me what happened, my one-liner for this would be Nadal mindset entering this tournament was, I'm going to lose now to win later. Right now, it's all about body preservation, conserving everything that he has to make at least what, from the fans' perspective, of a true run at Roland Garros, or is he just trying to make a final presence? That's where we're in the middle of trying to decipher, and we won't know until Roland Garros day one.
Right. The draw is, and again, this is a smaller tournament, not the most loaded field. Still very good players in this tournament, just pointing out. But, Nadal had the interest of a draw, right, where he played an opponent that he, had the better of in Covelli first. You'd say a favorable matchup, all respect given. But then not a favorable second round. Alex De Minaur, again, that you walk right into it. If you're going to test your fitness against players, that's a tough one to do it against. I think for me, again, there's going to be rust. You can play all the practice sets and practice, you can, but there's nothing like playing a match, especially against a tour professional that as we said, the tour keeps moving on. He's been, playing himself into shape in De Minaur's case for so long.
Mhm.
So we knew there was going to be rust. There was. The things that stand out to me was that there were still the flashes of brilliance that we are accustomed to seeing from Nadal. He
Right.
had times where he looked great. What stood out on the negative side, and this is more on the minor side, Pam, but the movement wasn't quite all there. I think that's to be expected. There were some stumbles on clay, which we talked about, where you never saw Nadal not perfectly moving fluid on the clay. Whether that's age or rust is to be considered. The other thing, though, that I wanted to get into was the serve, because that's something that we have never seen this abbreviated motion before. And
Mhm.
again, nothing's come out. Nadal is such
Okay.
a proud guy. He's not going to disclose anything. My concern and worry would be, is this preventative, or is there something going on for why he's serving this way? Because the numbers tell the story. He wasn't getting first serves and the velocity's down. I'm not sure what to make of this serve. I'd love to talk to an expert about it and just see the progression. But
Right.
that was what stood out to me as the new service motion.
Well, then let's break it down to how you ordered it. And first, that Barcelona is a smaller tournament. And that's exactly my sentiments heading into this. Nadal's mindset, from my perspective, is that he cannot risk injury prior to Roland Garros. That is his bread and butter. That is his baby. What he was doing was likely just paying respect to his Barcelona fans. Let me play the first round. It was against an opponent that he knows that he doesn't have to up his aggression, up his style, just get through. I'm going to say that he learned from Roger Federer back in the day. 39 years old, Federer played his final French Open during COVID. It was a 3.5 hour close 4-set match against Dominic Kofer. He won that match, but it was in the third round, and Federer had to WD before his fourth round match. Now, Federer had a lot of surgeries entering that matchup, but one grueling match can change your trajectory for the progression of what you're wanting to do. So Nadal probably has this mindset of, I'm just coming into this to get some solid reps against a good player. This is an elevated practice session, in my opinion. It was more experimental of, let's see what my body can do against an opponent like De Minaur, who is a backboard. It was a baseline
Yeah.
practice match. There was, like you said, there's moments of brilliance. And there was moments where you're watching this and you can see Nadal kind of like his wheels are turning and he's like, oh, should I turn it up? No, he was
Yeah.
being really smart. His brain was saying, let's go, but his body was like, hey, chill. He
Yeah.
wasn't ready to go full aggression.
The only issue with that, though, is, and again, that's why I tweeted out today. How's he going to feel tomorrow? What's it gonna be like? Does he have that ability to ramp up? I think it's a fair question given all the mileage, all the injuries. He just said how he was on crutches after winning his last Roland Garros in 2022. I mean, this is a guy that will go pedal to the metal. I don't know what's still in the well, and that's where I put him into. There's very few tennis players you can compare him to. I think
Right.
the Serena Williams comparison is apt in this perspective. The end of Serena, I would still never bet against her ability to compete and win any match. But now my questions are going to be, can you win 7 in a Grand Slam? Can you come back after playing a grueling match, reset, and play a day and a half later? Those are the questions that we're going to have to know. And I agree with your logic. I just don't know. And again, it's the sad part about getting old in sports. We don't know what's in the tank and what's still possible.
So then that kind of goes into, I have confidence that Nadal is going to make it into the second week of Roland Garros. I'm not worried about that aspect at all. I am worried about what you mentioned, a grueling matchup. What happens afterward? What is he going to look like? I need to see. What we're seeing right now is him and his coaches, him and his team are saying, hey, just let's hold back a little bit. All we're doing is trying to get in some reps. But what we're going to see, what I expect to see and hope to see, is when he steps onto the court at the French Open, it is like, unleash me. Anything
Yeah.
goes. And he's already alluded to it, not even alluded to it. He already made the announcement of like, hey, you know what? I'm going to play Rome. I'm going to play, I'm going to see what happens. But then if I need to die for this, I'm going to die for it out at the French. So by him saying that, everything that I've been projecting for months for the last year has been road to Roland Garros. And there is no other place that he is willing to die for it than that at the French. And we've seen it happen in 2022. Post-tournament, he talked about having injections in his feet. We know this man is capable of doing what needs to be done to get it.
Well, I hope he doesn't actually die. Just want to put that on record.
Of course.
Everybody out there
Gotta
listening.
be willing to die for it. The Spaniards don't die. You want to talk about the bull-like mentality? There's no one out there more than Nadal.
That brings up an interesting point. I think, and it was brought up on our second serve show this week, which is a phenomenal show on T2, but they had Chris Eubanks on the show, who's playing and also does some great broadcast work. They brought up the question of where would you even seed him? I know there's a lot of tennis to get to, but RG is going to have a dilemma. Roland Garros is going to have a dilemma, Pam, of what they do with Nadal. Like, he's
Right.
in the tournament, but where do you put him? And there's no right answer. Again, a lot's going to be decided. We're not even anywhere near them having to make that decision. But if you don't seed him, the top players are like, how could you not seed Nadal? Nadal fans might be like, I don't want to play Djokovic or Alcaraz first round. You're taking a seed away. Is
Right.
it top 16? Is it top 32? So that what they do with him, and again, it's a special privilege that they never use like Wimbledon does, but where they put him in the bracket is going to be huge.
It is going to be huge. And I, as a fan, I feel very privileged that I at least saw him, even if it was an exhibition match in Las Vegas, because we don't know. We don't know if he's going to get through the first round. I doubt at this point we're going to see him WD before the tournament. But I mean, it's only happened in his career. He's only withdrawn from 5 tournaments in his career. He's only missed 11 slam tournaments. This is a 21-year career from Nadal.
Yeah.
And because of injury, it doesn't happen. Now, I say he's going to make it into the second week. Time's going to tell. And yeah, these tickets are probably going to be absurd. The crowd outside of the stadium is going to be bonkers. It's just going to be an electric atmosphere through and through. Yeah, I'm so excited for the French, because it's not just Nadal as a storyline. You have players like Stefanos Tsitsipas, Novak Djokovic, Carlos Alcaraz, Jannik Sinner. Like, it's an extensive list now of players in our minds who think that can contend. But then I'm not at all going to disregard Nadal.
No, I also, just the final note on this. Again, it was, De Minaur getting the job done, but the drop shotting of older veteran tennis players is like, and I get it. It's kill or be killed out there, to speak in metaphors again. We saw it with Del Potro, Del Bonis, the most extreme version, but that's what's going to happen. And I totally am not judging De Minaur or any player that does this. The job is to win, and you do what you have to do out there.
So when you play backboards, you need full court tactics. That's what's needed in order to get through to win a match. But that's just not what Nadal is interested in right now. We didn't see Nadal track down one drop shot. He let I think every single shot down. It goes back again to Nadal is saving himself. He wanted to practice from the baseline. That's what he did. And I think we're going to see that not happen at Roland Garros.
I'm excited because, as Pamela Maldonado mentioned here on Tennis Channel Inside In, it is a pretty open Roland Garros. Monte Carlo happened last weekend, and the winner was Stefanos Tsitsipas. It was his 3rd title in the Principality, and again, we've already seen it with his odds already up to that 12-1 number for RG. So he wins in a place he's very comfortable. He gets by Jannik Sinner in the semis, dismantles Casper Ruud in the final. So I have to give preps to Stefanos. He's had his ups and downs. It's been a lot of downs recently at the elite level. But when he gets to clay, specifically Monte Carlo, Pam, he knows how to get the job done. And that's when we saw it again, all of his game fully clicking.
All of the intricacies of Tsitsipas's game, all of the negative sides that he has. We can talk about his backhand being a weakness of his. All of those seem to go out the window when he shows up in Monte Carlo, and those weaknesses turn into strengths, which is why he has become so dominant. Now it also gives him the mental mindset of, okay, I'm back into the groove of things. I saw a meme on Instagram that was pretty funny, and it's like, the rest of the year, he's like, oh, I'm happy and in love. He shows up to Monte Carlo, and he's like, I'm here. Like, becomes an entirely different mindset. And let's not forget, like, this is a man that was up 2-0 to Novak Djokovic in the French Open. So he has the capabilities and the skill set. And now he's coming into this with the confidence that he needs. And of course, a supportive girlfriend that's going to be by his side and help him along the road. So I'm interested in him. But that being said, I wouldn't put him even in the top 3 for the French Open title.
I think that's fair. I think top 5, though, I think I'd probably throw him at like that 4 to 6 range for sure.
Yes.
I think part of it is I just want, and it's funny, harkening back to the women's game, we were gushing about what Danielle Collins is doing. I love seeing Tsitsipas play when he's aggressive, because that's how he kind of made his name, being bold. I know it's sacrilegious to compare anyone to Roger Federer, but when he's hitting the forehand and charging forward on the rise, I think, okay, this is Federer. Like, that was his favorite player growing up and how he emulated. So when you see that and everything's working on clay, especially the conditions in Monte Carlo, you think this guy could really do some damage. And beating Jannik Sinner, who I know there was the call that got, the bad call that went against him on the serve, and there was some stuff. It was the hamstring.
Right.
But only one other person's beaten Sinner this year, and it was Carlos Alcaraz. So that's anyone you can get over Jannik is good. Again, we're not going to we're not going to be here. I'm not going to be the one to judge Jannik Sinner for losing in a semi in a Masters 1000. It's just his second loss of the year. So no worries on there. But full marks to Tsitsipas for getting that job done and then keeping it going in the final.
Right. I like that you said that there was a shot that like you can tell when he hits it, he gains confidence on it. And there's a lot of players who have like their signature mark of as soon as you hit that, oh, you fire on them, then you know they're going to win. Even if they're down 2-0, even if they're down, like it's a break and they have to go into a third. There's just certain shots from certain players that as soon as they hit that down the line forehand, cross court shot, inside out is something, then that's where it clicks. It's going for them. Their confidence is high. That's when you ride the wave. And you can see that from Tsitsipas. And you did see that in Monte Carlo as well.
So Tsitsipas wins that title, Pam. And, I know the final didn't go Casper Ruud's way, but this was a nice regroup for him on the surface where he made his name. I brought up the point that he had been working hard to get on be better on hard courts. That might have been a detriment to some of his clay stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it was good to see him in his first Masters 1000 final on clay. Casper starting to play the points. And again, beating Djokovic in the semis was where he'll remember this tournament, the biggest match win of his life. So for Casper Ruud, it was a step in the right direction for a two-time Roland Garros finalist.
At a certain point in a player's career, it becomes more about the mental mindset rather than it does the physicality, rather than does the skill sets that they have to offer. And during that matchup against Djokovic, Casper was 0-5 against Djokovic, not even winning a set. So for him to win the match, definitely that's going to give him the confidence boost. But at the same token, you and I know, the world knows, people who pay attention to tennis know, Djokovic has not been his same self for the greater part of the last 12 months. So yes, a confidence boost, but I would also like to think that Ruud knows I'm not there yet. This was a good win, but I need to keep up the momentum and still continue on and build.
So I have a few things on this. One being, you have to get the first one. It doesn't matter how. You just have to prove you can do it, even if you know in your heart of hearts that they're not their peak. What's so interesting about this one, Pam, is that in the past we would say, well, he hasn't revved up, and it might still be true, but he hasn't ramped up. He's getting there. He knows where the goal is. This feels different because he is older. He struggled this year. He does not have a title yet.
Right.
So on the doubt side, I think everyone still has reason to be a little skeptical of where Djokovic is. And it wasn't just one match, right? Like he looked shaky at times this whole tournament, a tournament that he hasn't done as well recently. But for Djokovic, I'm still looking, and that's probably why there's this big cloud, is that the defending champion going into this event hasn't quite looked right, made the coaching change. But where are we at with Novak Djokovic, and specifically on this clay surface, his road up to Roland Garros?
Where are we at with Djokovic? No clue. As the resident Djokovic obsessed fan, yeah, I myself don't even know what to do with this, because this has been starting since Wimbledon last year. Wimbledon is his baby. That is my favorite tournament to watch every single year. He owns it. He's right up there with Pete Sampras and Roger Federer as being the best tennis players of all time. He's definitely the best on grass player right now. And then for him to just get manhandled by Carlos Alcaraz, somebody who I thought was going to take a few years to progress into his grass style of game. Whoa, that was a big wake-up call, and it's only been like that since.
Yeah.
I was also under the predictions that, okay, this was another calendar slam year for Djokovic. Maybe Sinner. It would be super wild if Djokovic has been the one to be right there to win 3 multiple times in a season, just couldn't come out with the 4th, and then yet we have somebody like Jannik Sinner just come in and scoop it. We're just seeing a lot of change from Djokovic, and I don't think the coaching has anything to do with it.
Yeah, there were some weird moments in Monte Carlo where he stumbled again, you don't expect to see, Nadal. He stumbled, I think stubbed his toe. There's the heat issue, which he's had in the past. He's obviously not at the full fitness he expects. There's still a level that we know he can get to. You just never want to take it for granted, because Father Time does catch up with everyone, and we're not sure where we're seeing it. And again, pointing out ad nauseum, the competition around him has gotten better these last couple years, which is why he knows time is of the essence. I do also want to point out, I think the Olympics is kind of weighing on him. That's the one thing he doesn't have. So maybe there is some of his mind thinking, I want that gold medal. But I want to ask you, as we kind of wind down this conversation, if we were going to go tiers for the French Open, what would your tier system look like? You don't have to rank them all out, but if we have a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, or maybe just 2 tiers or 5 tiers.
5 tiers.
How would you
Uh,
contenderize the names we've said in terms of likelihood of winning the RG title for the men?
okay, so basically just give you like a top 5 players. Let's go. I'm still gonna go Nadal number 1. Injury or not,
Wow.
this is his baby. We underestimated him to win the Australian Open when Djokovic wasn't in it. He wasn't even a top 5 favorite. He won over Medvedev. Come on hard court. We underestimated Nadal in 2022. He also wasn't even a top 3 favorite. Injections wins it all. I'm not going to underestimate his abilities. So I'll put Nadal as number 1. Currently, I will put Jannik Sinner number 2.
Mm,
Even though he has yet to be proven, I'm doing air quotes, proven himself, his style of game. Once you add variety into your game, your style translates into all surfaces. So I'm not worried. He's played a lot of tennis. That's the only concern. Carlos
yeah.
Alcaraz S3 because he's also in and out of injury. Novak Djokovic number 4. And then I want to put also Alexander Zverev. I love what
Okay.
he's done. I would put him as my 5th. And then behind him, Stefanos Tsitsipas.
Okay. So it's a couple things there. One being, Alcaraz, the betting favorite, is at number 3 on your tier system.
Right.
Betting favorite for the tournament and has not played.
Correct.
Missed Barcelona again. So it doesn't seem like it's a major injury. It seems preventative, but
Right.
again, what happened last year with the cramps, with the nerves, again, didn't happen in Wimbledon. But how much of that was, coming in against Djokovic as like a 2-1 favorite in that match, expected to win that one.
And also,
Whereas he was.
this time last year when Alcaraz was playing, he was on this kind of with the center path. You're winning everything. Your time on court is exponential compared to that of the rest of the field. He's now getting in the rest and recovery. He's still young, just like Sinner. So I'm not worried that the injury that he has is going to be a long-term problem. The cramps seem to have been an eliminated issue
Right.
over the last 6 months, 12 months. So I'm not concerned with that either. I just think, one, Spaniards, clay, endurance, stamina, mentality, you got to put Alcaraz and Nadal in the top 3.
All respect to the legend, I can't put Alcaraz under Nadal in this year's. I can't do it. We've seen the youth movement too much now. Special Carlos is. I think there is a reason why he's expected to win this tournament in the odds makers. Not a prohibitive favorite, but up there. So I think when he plays, I think it will be fine. I think he's smart now. I think part of the problem at the end of these seasons has been him getting tired and banged up.
Right.
So this is good, I think, long-term thinking. Zverev was a great pull by yourself as well. Not a great showing in Monte Carlo, but he always plays well in Madrid, loves the altitude there, and the Roland Garros conditions suit him. Those are a good top 6. You could even convince me into some flyers. Holger looked better, always going to be fighting, and it's nice to see him. It's nice to see him just defiantly out there. That match against Sinner, by the way, him winning that second set tiebreak was very impressive by the young man who had to deal again with some bad calls, but I liked what I saw from Holger. The fight's always there, even if the level is a little up and down.
If you're asking me to put together a top 5 list, a top 6 list, I'm going to go with players who have shown consistency. And Holger Rune has a lot of volatility in his game, both when it comes to his mental side of things on court, plus along with his game. He had a coaching change, and he's not even inconsistent in just his style of play. He's also inconsistent with his health. So there's too many unknown factors, question marks, for me to comfortably to ever put him into a top 5. Does he have the abilities? 100%. Should he be in gridlock step right there with Alcaraz and Sinner? Yes, but he's not. There's a reason for that. His game has a lot of holes. His mentality has a lot of holes. His health has a lot of holes. And until you start plugging some of those holes, you're just going to continue on the volatility train that he's on.
Don't you love this, RG? Because this is like the first year in forever when we can go like 6-7 down and be like, maybe if they put it together.
We've done this before, and then it was Nadal to come through. No, it is. I'm still putting Nadal, and then distant second into the rest. Maybe I'll put Carlo, maybe in the same bracket, tier 1, tier 2. I would put Nadal and Alcaraz, and then the rest of the field. My concerns for Djokovic and why it could be a little dissipated here at Roland Garros is because the things that he's been having problems with, Djokovic, is power. The game has changed. He lost to Carlos Alcaraz at Wimbledon because of power. He had no answer for it. He lost the Australian Open to Sinner because of the constant power was suffocating him. Now, because it is a clay court tennis, some of that should be muted. It should be
Mhm.
able to be easier to manage. But even Djokovic himself, his forehand has lost a little bit of oomph. He doesn't have the same power forehand that of like a Zverev, a Sinner, a Alcaraz. He doesn't have to implement that. He hasn't had to implement that. Now you got to start implementing some things. And I don't know if at his age 37, he's going to be able to. So because it's Wimbledon, the Olympics are creeping up. I don't hate the coaching change that he has, but I think the game is just really evolved to where I'm not sure. I've I've been watching this man for 20 years.
I
I'm not
know.
sure that he actually has it right now to keep up with the evolution of tennis.
I appreciate that perspective. I also appreciate your devotion to Nadal on this surface. I've just seen I've seen this sports movie many times where it's Federer at Wimbledon getting bageled in his final set.
You have to remember, this is different. This is different because this is French Open history. 112-3
I know.
win-loss
I
record
know.
from Nadal. He's had only three, fathom this, 1, 2, 3, 5-set matches. Now, because he's
Mhm.
had the 14 titles, that's what you can look at and just go, oh, he's pretty good. No, his exact style of play, the characteristics of clay, that slow, that bounciness, it
Mm,
plays into Nadal's strength. The high bounce, it is so hard to play
yeah.
against Nadal's heavy topspin forehand. Oppositions are always going to be on that defense. When you cannot play offense against Nadal, the only question mark that we have is, can he win 7 matches? And if you tell me that Nadal is even 80% health, that is 100% more than any other player on tour.
I still don't know if I'm ready for the Alcaraz.
You're like, I haven't convinced you yet. He has that
Not on
powerful
Alcaraz.
two-handed
I
backhand,
know. No, he does a
exceptional
lot.
court coverage, the
It's great.
stamina. I talked about it. He has that bull,
Yeah.
like, I will die for this mentality. Mental
No, but I feel
toughness like no other in tennis.
I feel like Carlitos is cutting the same cloth. So
Spaniards.
yeah. So we'll see. I mean, I think it's going to be fascinating. I don't want to end this on a downer, Pam. So this will be the second last part to bring up. Did you want to talk about Dominic Thiem?
So when it comes to Dominic Thiem, it's been, I mean, I've known you for a couple years now, and it feels like for a couple years I've been saying, I'm so high on Thiem. He's going to come back and he's going to be great, and we have not seen it. It reminds me, there's a lot of correlation between Thiem and Del Potro. Just once you get the type of injury that they have in your wrist, it is very difficult to come back from, and your confidence goes like way south. And then you're playing these challengers, and you're not even winning in challengers. And then where's the level of interest? Like, I think we had a conversation once, and this was like many months ago, of okay, you won a major. And then he talked about, well, I kind of was like, cool, I won a major, and now what? So there's just like a lot of hills that he's having to climb, and you're just always climbing, and you're never reaching the peak, you're never reaching the next level. So at some point, it becomes extremely difficult. And then I'm talking about Djokovic is being surpassed in the power game. Well, what do you think is happening in a team who's outside the top? I don't even know where he's ranked right now. Top 200? Like, it's
He's outside 100. But you bring up a good point in the sense that, like anything in life, maybe you can't make the end all be all something that is attainable, because then what happens after that? I think the best tennis players currently and historically, Nadal, Djokovic, Sinner, the goal is the process. They want to be better each day. They're not putting all their weight. Nadal's won Roland Garros 14 times.
Right.
His pinnacle was not winning Roland Garros. It's getting better each day and figuring out new challenges and taking it that way. Thiem, admittedly so, said the goal was a Grand Slam. He got there and then wasn't able to.
Yeah.
Sinner, on the other hand, what we've kind of seen, I know there's health issues with Thiem that we hope he feels better, and the wrist just doesn't. It's just brutal luck. It all comes down to just brutal luck, the way that the wrist, and with Del Potro too, the hand he was dealt. So unfortunately, it doesn't look to be trending in the right direction.
And at least with players, when it comes to like this, like Thiem, we don't know what his goal is. We don't know. Does he want to win Australian Open? Does he want to win a French Open? He's never really, like, after winning the US, he's never made an announcement of like, oh, here's my next goal that I want to attain. We know, at least with Nadal, going back to him, and at least with Nadal, we know what his end goal is. French Open, Roland Garros, his baby, retirement year, giving it all.
I should clarify that, because that's the goal now, because he's at the end.
Right.
But, this is the bigger picture thing was, how do you stay on top? You're not prioritizing Grand Slams. You're prioritizing getting better each day. Last thing I wanted to bring up, though, this was fun. Pamela Maldonado, Tennis Channel Inside In, just looking at the lines for Roland Garros and what, similar in your tennis bets vein here. Do you think we're going to see any big movement between a player? Is there going to be a player that shoots up the odds? One of the ones we mentioned, perhaps? Or do you think everything will kind of settle in where we are in terms of the pecking order, how the books see the Roland Garros futures?
When it comes to the French Open odds, I think at Roland Garros, the odds are going to remain the same, pretty much the same. You're going to have Alcaraz, Sinner, Djokovic, all ahead of Nadal. Nadal is the fourth favorite at 6-1. Nadal needed to have won Barcelona or needs to win Rome, another upcoming tournament, in order for his odds to be shifted. Because right now, if any odds do change, it would probably be Nadal, and that would be only if he wins a tournament. Now, if he doesn't win any tournament, I think 6-1 is what you're like the cheapest price, anywhere between the 6 to 7-1 range. I don't think those are going to change if he ends up losing again in the first round, second round. He's still going to be behind Alcaraz, Sinner, Djokovic. Maybe Zverev could be interesting because he's likely to win Madrid again. That's a surface that's really good for him, but it doesn't necessarily translate to matching that of Roland Garros. So I would say that for the overall, the odds are going to be pretty steady. And I've already posted it to my social medias that Nadal is 6-1. It is value. It is value. You're having a forecast. What does Nadal want to do after Roland Garros? What does Nadal want to do after the Olympics? Does he want to play the US Open? Does he want to play another year? No, this is it. So if there was ever a chance, an ever opportunity to get 6-1 value on the King of Clay, who is not only dominant at French Open, dominant on clay, who is announcing that, I'm going to give everything and die in Paris, you take it.
So the Zverev point's the one that I completely agree on, because we've already seen the Tsitsipas movement. He had a good result. He won the title. He came up, from like 19-1 to like 12-11, 10-1. Zverev's sitting at about 18. He does well. He's going to have the same odds as Tsitsipas. So I would say if you're looking at that as one of your, fifth favorite of the tournament, that could be value too. But still a lot of time to decide. We're going to be on Tennis Bets covering all of it too. So we'll see what happens. Pamela Maldonado, always a pleasure. Make sure you follow her on all of her social medias for some update on betting and some Scotty Scheffler love as well. I think that's pretty much on brand. It's like Rafa, Carlos, Novak, Scotty at this point.
Done.
But
those are my three guys.
Pam,
I need to get a Scotty.
You do. Thanks for coming on the podcast, though. Always a pleasure.
Thanks much.